And welcome, everybody. My name is Ryan Belmore. I am the owner and editor of What's Up Newp. And here today, we are going to talk about possibly, or definitely, the news of the week. And joining us to chat about that is my dear friend and a man who is having a rough week, as I would say. And Jay Sweet joins us. And hey, Jay, how's it going?
I've had better days, my friend.
You've had better days.
Yeah, and I apologize for my puffiness. I've been my tear ducts. Something has been wrong with my tear ducts for the last 48 hours. Overuse.
No problem at all. Let me ask you: did you have a harder time sleeping last night or the night before?
Wow, two totally different sleeps. The night before, 2 nights ago, was so anxiety filled, and I usually feel like I have a pretty good sense of projecting what will or won't happen. And it was one of those things where, I've worked on writing letters and messages to this amazing community, not just the festival community, but the local community and the state community. And so much was riding on it. I was at a loss the night before of anxiety. And last night, I was just emotionally gutted. And I mean that because I was overwhelmed with hope and inspiration and love and caring and support, and obviously trying to help people who felt the frustration that I've been feeling. And because, grieving comes in stages, and good or bad, I've been ahead of the curve a little bit because I have the knowledge I do, and just trying to give as much of my entire staff, who, by the way, didn't really go to bed the last 3 days, I don't even know what today is, have been really focused on trying to get people through all the various range of emotions that we've all felt for the last week, knowing, what we thought was going to happen happened.
Your mind and brain must have been in two different places. When did you finally accept that this year just wasn't going to be it?
On Friday. Look, I am very, very fortunate and very lucky. And I've talked to people who do events all over the country and actually all over the world in the last 2 weeks, all day, all the time. And the one thing that I know that I am the most fortunate of anybody was, I don't think anybody else has a direct line to the governor, has her cell phone number, and is in constant communication, and not just about the X's and O's of what needed to happen, but the emotional impact this was going to have. And maybe it was me, but she got caught up a little bit emotionally when she actually said the words, actually, to your question. If I'm correct, her having to say that the words Newport folk and Newport jazz are canceled, there was a catch in her throat. And I think that goes to the fact that she's kind of been with me as this process has unfolded to the inevitable conclusion.
Yeah, participating in yesterday's press briefing, I felt like she was really struggling to say those words and really didn't want to say those words.
Yeah, for a variety of reasons. I think as someone whose entire focus has been on trying to keep people alive, which is her job, and she's done an incredible job of being no nonsense and trying to get that all out. But when you talk about something that has, as you wrote, I think at some point, has $60 million of economic impact, besides the cultural implications of something that is so directly tied to what the state of Rhode Island, it's not easy to say those words because of the implications, because of the dominoes, because of the continued effect. And I was about a minute or two late, as I was just on the phone, because George Ween, our 94-year-old fearless founder and leader, has been writing a love letter to the city of Newport. And he's upset with me that I haven't put it out yet. I mean, he wrote it, I got it 7 minutes ago, and he tell everybody I love the city of Newport. So we're it's been an emotional couple of days, and I just want to tell people how lucky I am, because all these other events that are having similar situations, every one of them that I've talked to can't believe that I can call the governor and tell her where I'm at, and she can call me and say, this is where I'm at, and this is what happened. But on Friday, which kind of went into my Twitter musical rant, as some people have noted, was right after I'd had that call. So.
Let me take a step back. George, doing well, healthy, everything good with George Ween?
He is just a marvel. He is very much in quarantine, and but he has been just giving out the best. He's like this weird rock for me. I mean, he's always been a rock, but as somebody who has faced adversity and trying times with this festival over 6 decades, he has a different perspective. And granted, he did say, "Listen, he was being tongue in cheek. He said, "Hey, I can't even give you advice. I haven't had to face one of these. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to tell you. I don't have my pandemic playbook." And it was good, but he did say, and I kind of copped his line of saying, and this wasn't meant for public consumption, but he said to me, he's like, every time these festivals had faced near disaster, complete and utter falling apart, and when the world looked like it was going to collapse, somehow, every single time one of these things has happened, the community has come out stronger. And you got to bet on that. I mean, you got to just say hope. Like I said, it's not just Rhode Island's motto. It's something I think we all need. And that was really one of the hardest parts for me emotionally, is even when I sensed what was coming, and we still wanted to make the artist gives. I did it because I want small, independent people like ourselves to understand we're in this with them and to have a sense of hope. Just imperative for me.
And that was very important of you to continue with the lineup announcements and talk a little bit about the Music Festival Foundation to support the artists during COVID-19.
Yeah, again, we didn't want it to be a fundraiser. We had funds, granted, very small portion of funds that had been left remaining for the artist gives. And to be even more, if you're a kind of a Newport folk or jazz junkie, sorry if I'm getting too microscopic, or if you're not a junkie, to get a little microscopic, but as you know, we always have tons of surprise artists play the event. And what we do is we hold the artist gives for those surprise artists until after the festival, so we can say, hey, thanks to Dolly Parton, we're doing this, or thanks to Kermit the Frog, we're doing this, or thanks to Jim James or James Taylor, blah, blah, blah. We are making these gifts in their name. And we do that from the minute the day the festival is over until all the way through the fall, until we start selling tickets again for the next year. So the giving happens almost daily, year round, right? So if you get it, I had a chunk of that. And when I started to realize that the festival might not happen, and this was this fund that was sitting there for do artist gives that may not be able to be announced or be able to play the event itself. And I'm getting phone calls from artists that I personally know and care about, and ones that we've all sung along to, telling me that I'm not going to be able to pay my rent. My landlord's going to kick me out. I've got a kid and I'm about to go on food stamps. I couldn't sit there and hold any money in the coffers when I could help. It was the break glass in case of emergency. And I just made the call, and luckily the board and George and everybody was very supportive, and the staff, we had to create a relief thing and build the form. We had to do it all in about 48 hours. And I kind of said, I don't care if we mess it up. We just got to let's just figure it out. Just let's get it out, because we have some, and I'm, it's tough to not help the artists that are going to end up trying to play your festival. And one of the biggest ones, and I won't say who, because called and said, man, I still hope these festivals happen, but I don't know if we're still going to be a band by then. And that kind of just clarified it all to me. So we did that. And then what was just unbelievable are people like Billy Strings, who just dedicated like 33% of his merch and ended up writing like a $20,000 check. Or Jim James, who got paid a good chunk of money by Levi's to do a at-home concert, and said, put our wiring information to our relief fund as the invoice to Levi's, and to all the people who gave $5 or $10 or $20. It was pretty powerful to watch happen in real time. And 100 cents of every one of those dollars came in, went right out as soon as we could make sure that the criteria was met, so to speak.
How many musicians or amount do you think you've helped with that fund so far?
Well, Well, I actually have the number. We're well over 600 applicants, and we've been able to get roughly around half of them fulfilled. And we're just kind of going by when they came in. There's no real true hierarchy of it's they come in, we sit, we try to do. Now, obviously, I don't want to belabor the point, but some people have made donations that are restricted just to that, and that's great because then we can just go there. But it's right now it's a little bit on hold until we see if we're solvent or viable, and a lot of that will be known in the next 14 days. We'll know exactly kind of how. Look, there is no way to make up for not having the festivals. There is simply no way to economically make up for the hit. Just not going to happen because we're not going to get parking money or merch money or beer sales money or underwriting. We have all the sponsors are basically gone. I mean, Lagunitas has done some really cool stuff helping specifically for the Music Relief Fund because they're working with artists. They did a Tank in the Bangas, for example, and they wrote us a check which went directly in there, and thanks to Tank in the Bangas for that, because a lot of them don't have to give to us, but that's artists helping artists in need. And I think that's what this community is, truly what the Newport community on folk and jazz is really all about. Is it's not lip service. I know how many people are like, we're a great community, and because the community needs to be there, together in the lifeboat. And what I have, I share with you, and that's how you survive in a lifeboat. Is everyone throws what they have on the table and says who needs what, and doesn't just keep their pockets full. And I obviously I'm all over the place, but it's been an emotional couple of days. But it's on hold, I hope, for a very brief amount of time until we see where we end up as a foundation ourselves. It's not easy for me as somebody who has really fostered, I think, with our staff, or I've learned from my staff, and I've fostered it within my staff, that we have been about giving. We're a nonprofit that actually, our point is to not be a nonprofit just to cut costs. Our thing is to be able to give. And it's really difficult, like anybody who's used to being on the giving end, to ask on the other side. It's very weird to be on the other side of this, to be asking people for help. It's not in our nature.
Well, let's talk about the ways to help. So yesterday, when you announced that the festival was indeed canceled, you announced that 2020 ticket holders could do 3 things with their tickets. Can you just go over those 3 things, as well as talk about how the first 24 hours has gone with what are people doing?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of the raw data. It's still 24 because we had to build these forms that didn't exist, by the way. And a good shout out to Caps and to Todd and to the whole Deb and Kira and Dan and all the people that you have to imagine. I have a very small independent nonprofit staff who can barely, I know it sounds crazy, but barely able to, with years of muscle memory and years of planning, throw 2 events and run a foundation. So imagine adding on top of them, okay, undo everything you've learned because we're going to try to plan a unfestival happening. And thus, it's not like we had all these computer programs. We had to build everything from scratch. And the other thing is we don't have a refund policy. We're a nonprofit. So actually, when you buy your ticket originally, there is no, if something were to happen, you get your money back. We're a nonprofit. In fact, like a lot of nonprofits, they're not even offering refunds. Obviously, that's not in our DNA, and that's not what Pete and George and Pete Seeger, that is, and the egalitarian nature of what we're trying to do. We never really had a serious discussion about it. But it's there is something about giving up and putting your hands in there and saying the power to have these festivals come back is in the hands of the audience. I mean, you're our community, and we figured people are facing adversity and hardship and need the money. So they can get 100% refunds. Just push a button, fill out the thing, put your ticket number in, refund. We hope you can come back. Then there's the ability to either give, say, 50 or 100% of your ticket income as a tax-deductible donation to us to help us be able to continually do all the nonprofit work, and of course to be able to try to throw an event in 2021 or 2 events in 2021. And then the last one, which is I think, kind of unique is the revival program, which is to let us, apply your funds, your relief, your ticket income towards a membership, which would guarantee you a ticket to the next time we can all gather at the fort. And one of the reasons behind that is, as you know, this ticket buying audience has the option during the event to go on site and join the foundation, whether it be an early bird or a Gull and Stars membership. Since we knew that we couldn't do that, another source of ancillary income that we count on wasn't going to be able to happen. We figured, well, let's make a kind of a new hybrid that is a kind of last hurrah revival one to buy a revival membership, which I think its name is pretty explanatory of what we're trying to do with it, is to be able to revive this for 2021. So those are really the three options. And, we're not surprised that a lot of people needed refunds, and people are in, dire straits. But when you ask me how I slept last night, for those people that I just know are hurting and makes me really emotional, the outpouring of support for people to do the choice of helping us, even the people that couldn't afford it, it was really fascinating. There were a couple of people that were saying, I can't do a revival membership program and I need a full refund, but using their own little megaphone to say, but please buy them. Please buy revival memberships, or please donate. I couldn't, but I don't know, man. I just think of our Newport folk and our jazz families. And I'm just so blown away by the ability and the desire to give, even when it hurts, because.
And, I asked that question yesterday of the governor in the press briefing, and I actually brought it up earlier today on a radio interview with WPRO is, the festivals and events that are being canceled this year are not a given for next year.
No.
So somebody has to step in, whether it's Rhode Island, Rhode Islanders, Newport folk fans, Newport Jazz Festival fans. We all need to come together and make sure that this happens next year.
Yeah, well, look, we're not a publicly traded entertainment company that has a multinational conglomerate that has massive sponsorships. We're not that. We're hand to mouth, like many of the artists that we put on our stages. And to your point, this decision was not made with just us or our fans or our artists. This decision was made about the state of Rhode Island and the $58 million of economic impact, which the center of that is Newport. I've been in touch with bar owners and restaurant owners and people I've befriended who are waiters and hoteliers and we all need each other. It's an intricate web, and you pull one string and it's going to affect all these other things. And we understand that we're a pretty big string in the center of a summer, which is a pretty big period of time for Newport. And what is just the hardest thing that keeps getting me emotional about it is I am used to being proactive against any adversary to kind of do what's right and stand by and stand in front of everything and say, if you are going to do harm to our community, you got to go through me. But this is an invisible thing. It's something I can't proactively go after. And for me, I think you know me well enough to have to react to things is not in my nature to want to do. And I think that's that feeling of helplessness of things being beyond our control is something that is the harder thing to get. But when you get these emails from, like I said, restaurants and bars and hotels and nonprofits in Newport who we give booths to in order to tell what they're doing, that whole coming together when it can't happen, it's just brutal. It's a brutal feeling.
Actually getting some questions here in the comments. What's the site we can go to make a donation or buy a revival membership?
You can go to either newportfolk.org, newportfestivals.org, or newportjazz.org, and it will be very clear how to get that way.
I was having a conversation this morning with Kathy, who owns Jane Pickens Theater, and we had to cancel some events this summer. Our Jaws screening, which happens right before Folk Fest, and to go with what you just said is the only way we're all going to get through this is together.
Yep.
None of us could stand on our own right now. I mean, we have to come together as a community.
And I wish we had some major, huge unicorn funder who could just say, everybody, don't worry about it. I got you covered. Like I said, it's kind of one of those things. What I think really enhances the overall experience of Newport isn't that the festivals is not that there's all that sponsorship in your face that's interrupting the experience. There's that grassroots feeling is real, but you live and die by that. We're grassroots, and now this is what happens. You try to just get through and fight for another day.
Did you happen to see CBS this morning?
I actually I got an email from Natalie Hemby saying, "I hope you saw this." Oh God, that was one of the 5 times I've cried today. I miss the high women a lot.
It was tough. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Jen and I, my fiance, met at Newport Folk Festival. And we've been to every Newport Folk Festival together. And we were getting married at Fort Adams.
Oh, dude, don't. I can't have the waterworks, man.
And Jen was going to walk down the aisle to Leon Bridges.
No.
And we were going to have our walk-in, sit-down song was going to be Crowded Table. And yesterday when you announced the festivals, and then this morning with the High Women, just been emotional over here as well.
Yeah, I between John dying and putting together that Kermit the Frog video, watching Christian McBride do some amazing things on Tuesday night on the Newport Jazz Instagram with people like, Robert Glasper and Marcus Miller and Diane Reeves. It's like a masterclass in jazz, but invariably it falls to memories that we all have of our experiences on that hallowed ground. It's, we've got a lot more memories in our can that we plan on releasing, but nothing is going to really substitute for the real thing. And just know that I'm going to be, making myself available any way, shape, or form, because again, this isn't, I know everyone's frustration, everyone's passion, everything. Imagine the way I feel, because I've dedicated my entire professional career to trying to keep these things alive, up against things like, massive monopolistic practices and weather and everything. But this one is by far the toughest foe so far. Just kind of holding on by a thread, but I know deep in my heart that, and it's so hard because I don't want to sound like lip service when I wrote that letter, is I've been around the block. This community is, for good and for bad, is so passionate. And I think it's passion and hope is the one thing that is kind of getting me through these days. And I think, and just like I try to give it to the community, especially the last 24 hours, the community's outpouring towards me has been something I couldn't even imagine.
What is the, maybe we can help out here. What is the number one question or concern you get asked right now?
The number one question or concern is, in all honesty, is, I will say this: anybody who's going to tell you what the future holds is lying. We don't know. I want people to remember, because we try not to draw attention to ourselves. I want people to remember that the nonprofit organization that I am privileged to lead is not a festival company. We are not a festival production company. We are a year-round music education nonprofit. And we don't use our other than the ones we work on with the artists, we don't use the megaphone to talk about all the good deeds we do in and around Rhode Island on a weekly, monthly basis, because you don't do that. You just do the work, and you hope. And why I say that is, the hardest thing for us right now is we want to continue to do the foundation work. And that those festivals, those brands of those two beautiful festivals, are our biggest megaphone and our biggest attention grabber for the work we're doing. But Ryan, you've been with me when I've handed a check or handed a huge thing of instruments to an organization in need. And while I love the fact that I have so many artists who are supporting us right now and sending out their love, and I have an incredible fan base, the letters I get from kids who get an instrument, I can't stop that from happening. And so I guess this is a long-winded way of saying we are trying to do it all. We are trying to keep the festivals alive and keep the foundation alive. And I didn't want to make some weird executive decision on forcing anything to happen, because, I'm not going to say I wasn't tempted, because I'd be lying, but that's not who we are. It's not who we are. The decision is with everybody who can hear my voice or read our words or knows what we do. And I would say this: I personally use music to celebrate the good times. They only enhance the good times. But I lean on music even more when times are really tough, as you could probably have seen from last Friday, and probably this Friday too, of what music means to me when times are really difficult. But the question I think everybody should be asking is, if you're using music as a balm or a salve for all the feelings we're having, who are the musicians? What are the musicians doing? Like, who's supporting them? People might, obviously, I understand that people wouldn't consider musicians an essential service in this time and need, and a big shout out to the people who are on the front lines. But for me, musicians are part of the healing and building and emotional stability. And I just want to make sure that even if you're not going to be able to help our foundation, please consider buying a piece of merch, listening to live music, and more importantly, letting those artists know through a myriad of social platforms what they mean to you. I can't tell you, look, I would say the emotional support that I got in the last 24 hours is equal, if not far greater than any financial support we got. It means I think we're doing the right thing. And I don't want people, it's not about the haves and the have-nots. It's, if you have compassion and empathy and understanding of what music can do to the human soul, don't hold it inside. Use this time when you don't have anything to do or you're bored to literally write love letters to artists or listen to their music or support them emotionally any way you can. Because having been a kind of lightning rod in the last 2-3 weeks, for inundated with stories of musicians that have always thought of as these strong, unbelievable people, are just in a tremendous fragile state right now. And that's why we immediately threw together a musicians relief fund, because look, if we count on music to be there for us, who's music counting on?
And Maren Morris mentioned it this morning on CBS in the interview with the Highwomen. Is she realized that music and musicians are non-essential right now, and they're locked in their houses.
She said that, and I wanted to scream at her. I was like, "That's bullshit. You are completely essential." Like, I couldn't get through a day without watching my friends or listening to my friends. I couldn't do it.
But at the same point, think about these musicians, and for example, just one small example is the Highwomen. All of them are still paying all their band members. All of them are still paying all their crews, all their management, all their teams. These musicians still need our support as well.
Absolutely, and I mean, and there was a thought that we would only run the relief program. We had no idea. We really didn't. I mean, I wish I could say I was this omnipresent seeker and could see into the future. It was, hey, let's start with this amount of money that we still have left in the coffers. And then if we do get to do the events and we need to give money to the organizations that the surprise artist wanted, we'll use some of the beer sales or the sponsorship sales or whatever. Thank God we started focusing on this, and we have no intention of shutting down that fund as long as money keeps coming in. We have no intention of shutting down the Musicians Relief Fund.
How do we move forward from here?
Can you ask me that in 2 weeks? Because I can't be any more direct, and I hate it. We need help. And in any way, shape, or form, any way, shape, or form, we need help. And by us, and if you don't want to help us, help the artists. And in 2 weeks, if we're not where I know we have to be, then you and I should get on and have a brainstorming session with all your fans on how we're going to keep these things going. We have started to blue sky some ideas for how to commune and celebrate together, not only on the weekends of the actual festivals, but a little bit before and definitely beyond. And I'm really excited about those because I need something positive to plan. If I'm not planning something, I don't know what to do with my hands. I get very nervous.
And just because I've seen the question asked so many different ways and times on social media, maybe I can help you or help the festivals.
Please.
Kind of explain 2021 tickets.
If you can.
Obviously, it's all different now.
Yeah.
So are there going to be tickets available still to
Yes.
buy?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, listen. Again, our first instinct was those membership programs that people buy on site. They have become absolutely crucial because sponsorship, I'm not even going to call it because we haven't really had true big, underwriting, corporate underwriting is something that is happening less and less to these particular events because they're too small, because we don't advertise really, because it's a pretty powerful and amazing group. And you really have to understand the importance of that, like a Lagunitas or a Late July, which are more than just an underwriter. They help enhance the overall experience of the event because the people that run a lot of, high road insurance, all these people that have been underwriters for us. Because what I'm trying to say is the people who have joined the membership programs on site over the last couple of years have allowed us to do so much more work, so much more foundation work that is so desperately needed. Look, you're in this state. Look at every single budget and tell me how much money is going to the arts and the music programs in schools. Tell me how much of it is going to after school music programs. Tell me how much the Boys and Girls Club of Newport, they are not flush with cash to continually help kids or people in need, whether it be therapy for veterans or whatever, have music at their disposal. So those membership programs. And so you can take all the income that we're going to lose from not having the events proper, but perhaps the most important and biggest one is memberships. So look, there is a lot of demand for those memberships, and we are offering it to the ticket buyers first because they would have had the access to go there more than anybody. So, and then if there are any available, we'll make those available to the people on our own waiting list on Light, and then of course the general public. And then, there is a cap on those because we do understand that some people can't afford to do that. And in the spirit of Pete Seeger, which is the overall guiding force of everything we do, on the folk side, especially, and George on the jazz side, is, we hope to have a general on sale like we do every year at the same time, if we are all in the position to do that. Which is far outside of my control. I wish it was in my control. There's so many things I wish were in my control. That one's not one of them.
And I would be pretty upset if I didn't bring it up. I was so looking forward to Jazz Fest. That lineup was looking so
Oh my God,
strong.
I got to be honest with you. It was kind of crazy. We had actually sold more tickets up until the day we canceled. Now that's been, I don't know how many weeks of people understanding this thing we're up against. We still, until yesterday, God, I feel like that was a week ago. Yesterday, canceled the event. We still had outpaced all the sales from last year, even without 8 weeks of people not buying a ticket. I mean, people really, I'm crushed by that. I'm glad you brought it up because it was gunning towards a sellout, and that would have been something pretty exciting for me, and with Christian and the whole staff. And to give George that on his 95th birthday, or towards his 95th birthday, would have been, that's the gift I wanted to give him the most. Instead, I'm trying to make sure his brands can go on. No one, this is George. He's turning 95, and these things can't go away on my watch. Not while he's.
Do you think we can expect a lot of jazz and folk 2020 artists to make an appearance in 21? Have you got any confirmations?
I extended the invite. By the way, what's today? Thursday. Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, I sent an email out to 175 artists and made phone calls. When I say I communicated with 175 that's why I said I didn't sleep on Tuesday night, because I was literally on the phone calling every artist who was on California. I did it in time zones so I could keep gaining time. And we haven't had an artist yet say they're not coming. In fact, we also didn't announce the entire lineup on either festival, by the way, I might add. Not surprising on folk probably, but on jazz, we had some surprises coming there too. And to take it up a notch, I've actually, while those phone calls were out, have been getting phone calls from artists who weren't on the bill, who are part of the folk and jazz families, saying that if we can do 2021, obviously with the assumption we are, they're coming anyway. So we might have, I've been kind of wondering where we're going to put everybody, but I'm not going to stop anybody from wanting to show up. And that is a testament to this community. It's a testament to the community that artists, they're like, listen, man, can you tell me, can I come in 2021? You don't pay me. I'm coming. Yeah, of course. Of course. Please. So that's why I do think, man, I would expect, the cathartic moment that I needed of doing my annual very first thing I say from the stage every year, or not, as I say, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. And I got emotional just thinking about it, being able to do it when we were, a couple of weeks back, saying, God, I just need to do that. I want to be with these people because that meant we're on the other side of something. The fact that I have to wait a year plus to do that, okay, it's going to be tough, but it's going to make it that much sweeter when we can do it. And if I can do it with more of the folk artists and more of the jazz artists, even ones that you can't even expect would be on the bill, it's going to be a pretty big release.
It is going to be a pretty big celebration. Let me just get to Judy's question here. Thanks, Jay. What else can we do to help aside from making a donation, which I intend to do?
Oh, well, thanks, Judy. Again, I get very overwhelmed with everybody who, look, I am not a deaf ear to understanding that we're all in difficult things. But again, music is just, for me, it's my healing potion for all ills. Again, if you love an artist, Judy, I don't know who, I wasn't kind of kidding when I said, write a love letter to an artist. A friend of mine said why she thought I was so, not surprisingly, emotionally gutted was because it was like me saying goodbye to 10,000 of my best friends all at once. So Judy, tell the artists that you love them. That's what I want you to do, because they need it. They're frontline workers, whether we think so or not. They are, in my definition, they're imperative to our sense of humanity, emotion, self, whatever you want to say.
And I want to remind everybody they can make a tax-deductible donation. Newport Festivals Foundation. It will help continue the festivals, support year-round music education initiatives, and it will provide grants to artists in need. And you can do that at newportfestivals.org.
I appreciate it, because I'm sick of hearing myself say that. So I'm glad that you're saying it, because it feels so weird continually, asking for help. But thank you, Ryan, because it's a crazy time.
It's a little bit like a telethon. I have it going on the bottom of the screen right now.
Yeah, I see that. And the funny thing is, there's going to be some aspects of that. I actually just got, I hope I'm not ruining a surprise, but I just got a note from Shaky Graves, Alejandro, who is Shaky Graves. And he was like, listen, man, I'm going to start auctioning some stuff off to help, help various organizations. And that's when I was like, okay, yeah, we're all in this together. And like I said, you got to take every we're not saying no. Usually I'd be like, hey man, what are you doing? No, we're good. Don't worry. You keep it. Now I'm like, okay, tell us how, where, and when. And that's just one example of many things that Caps, our basically creative guru and I and the team have come up with some really cool ideas, which I'm actually kind of chomping at the bit to get out. But we just don't know. We're in this period of wait and see, which is unnerving. And because we have to get through this donation/refund period in the next 2 weeks. And, May 14th, we're going to know if we are able to, then there's the other aspects of the world that might stop us. But if we're going to be able to move forward and continually do what we're doing, again, to reiterate, this isn't about us trying to break even we are going to take a absolutely massive loss. We just don't want it to be a catastrophic loss. That's the our board has really stepped up, and we have a lot of people that are so in love with the culture and the community that they're stepping up so big, but we just need to know where we are. And it would be a much different conversation if we had just decided to not give the power to the people, but you got to talk the talk, you got to walk the walk.
Yeah, for sure. And Judy just wrote back in, said she's a nurse and a musician. She loves your passion, and we'll start writing to musicians.
That's like a double whammy to me. Judy. It's a double whammy. Everybody give a handout to Judy. Judy, I'm going to take my first tequila shot tomorrow. Is for you, Judy. That there. I just auctioned off a tequila shot for you.
We'll do whatever. The next one costs $10.
But yeah.
Hey Jay,
I just got to get through this week. Got to get through the week, and then when I can get to Friday afternoon, then I can let my hair down a little bit if I had any hair left.
There you go. I've seen this question a lot, and our friend Jack Casey brings it up, as well as Brianna here in the comments. Will there be any possible streams from prior years, CDs, records of different years to gain donations? Brianna says, possibly more posters from 2019. Will there be any merch or streams or music that will be available?
Absolutely. Not to get too in the weeds, the merch items have been ordered, but not surprisingly, getting merch fulfilled is really difficult because people make stuff. They make this stuff, and the people that make this stuff, even here in America, aren't able to make a lot of the stuff. Or if they are, they're thankfully doing good things like making masks or other things that are keeping people alive. But yes, we have made a big merch order is coming in, which we usually are not premiering that merch order until the festivals happen. So we're obviously trying to get it in as soon as possible. As far as content, the hard thing is the way we are as an organization, we don't own any of it. So we have to ask permission for every single artist whose music we have or whose face we have on video or whatever. We have to ask their permissions, and they own the copyright. And I know a lot of people break those rules, but we understand how important they are to artists in order to have income. So we're very, 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 protective of that. So here's an idea of how to help. If there's something you would like to see that we may or may not have. And by the way, we also don't have a gazillion dollars to capture everything that happens on the fort in the museum or on the quad, or, we have a very small doc team that's running around like crazy trying to capture as much as they can. So just because, even if we get the artist to say it's okay, we don't know if we have it. But here's a thing that's popping up in my head. If there's something you want to do, if there's an artist that you love, that you've seen at either the folk or the jazz festival, feel free in that love letter that you might be writing them to say, will you let Newport use your likeness or image or allow us to release that music through our own channels to help them stay alive? That would be great, because we do plan. Again, I wish my staff was 45 people that we could be preparing all these things at once, but my poor staff, honestly, I think it's day 14 where they haven't taken literally an hour off. Some people are sleeping in shifts and trying to answer every question on every social media of anybody who might be confused or frustrated or happy or ecstatic or wanting to give more. Every email is being answered. So anyway, again, I'm rambling because I haven't slept, but I would say this is, we have some really cool things going to happen. I think stuff that is this, silver lining. This pandemic has allowed us to kind of take a breath, take stock, and say all those projects, just like everybody has all these little projects that they've been hoping time to do. Yeah, well, archiving all the music and all the images and all the ephemera we have, and trying to figure out a way to get it out there so everybody can experience it, and maybe we can do some good with it. That's our next focus. Once everybody's done with your questions about how you get to make a donation or make a refund in the next 2 weeks, how about this? The faster you can get all that done, the faster you can all decide what you need to do, the faster our team can then focus our thing on the future and being able to get some of that content out that I know that you know what? I am very fortunate, because when I get really upset, there's some that I can just press play and I can hear. I mean, that Masters of War that released, I mean, that took a lot to get that out. And I listened to Warren Haynes' Masters. Oh, actually, I have this beautiful picture. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
That Danny Clinch, the photographer, took. It's Jason Isbell and Lucas Nelson and Jonathan Wilson, Warren Haynes. When they did Masters of War, I needed to hear that. I think a lot of us would want to hear that in our current situation. And I was sitting there playing it in the office, and it was right before President's Day. And I turned to Caps and the staff, and I was like, "We got to get this out. Our office can't be the only place that people are hearing, 4 guitar gods do a 9-verse Bob Dylan song with, by the way, an a cappella 'Find the Cost of Freedom' into that." I was like, we gotta let the world know. And so the staff has to stop everything they're doing, and it takes a lot to get 4 superstars to cover another superstar's song. It's not easy.
So that is a good action item. The quicker people decide what they're doing with their 2020 tickets, the quicker Newport Folk can move forward with some special items.
Yeah, I think we're almost at maybe 30% of the people have made their decision. That's some data I have. So that means there's 70% of people out there that I hope either they didn't get the email or they're thinking about what they're doing with it. And if you're thinking, let me know what I can do to change your mind. Because, again, I don't want to push everything that's happened to us in 2020, but I want to get to the good stuff. Which is coming.
And you don't have to be a 2020 ticket holder in order to support Newport Festivals Foundation.
In fact, I want to give a shout out to, we've had, I think, over 100 some odd people that have given money that didn't have tickets for this year, of some variation of $10 to $500, to $1,000. And people, I didn't have tickets this year, but I want to make sure that I can try to go to this show when it does happen. And so I want you guys to remain, viable and solvent. So thank you to those people. My thank you card list. I mean, I know that thing after the holidays when you're like, oh God, my thank you list is just growing. Mine is thankfully bigger than I'm going to be getting hand cramps of writing little notes and doing things, which is a good thing, which is a very good thing.
For our audience, full disclosure, I'm on the board of Fort Adams Trust, and Eric Offenberg comments here. He is the president of Fort Adams Trust. He says, "Jay, we at the Fort Adams Trust are here for you, and hopefully we can work together to get through this."
Eric, you've been in touch with our staff, and thank you for all your understanding of everything. And I will say this, we do have some plans for the museum building itself during the actual weekends. I'm hoping, Eric, that when we get to that phase in our recovery, I'm sure we'll be doing it hand in hand. And I appreciate all Eric's leadership and what he's done, and to make our relationship between that nonprofit and our nonprofit, I think, has been better now than it has ever been. And again, it's very, very clear that we are all in this together. I keep saying it's trite, and it seems like it should be on a bumper sticker or put in a big sign out on your yard, and I think that's all good, but every single day I wake up and realize that everything that affects me affects the people that can hear my voice, and everything that affects them affects me. I think that's one lesson we need to take out of this is, nothing happens in a vacuum.
That's it. Jay, what didn't we get to today, besides all of your favorite music picks and favorite records of 2020? We'll do that on another day.
Yeah. Honestly, people should be proud. People should be proud of what these festivals mean to them, and they should be proud even if they don't come to the festivals, but they're from Newport or from Rhode Island. Be proud. You should be proud of what these festivals mean to us, to our culture. Be proud that you can call them, even if you don't come, that they're in your state and that they're your colors. And I've never felt more excited and more proud to be a part of a community than now. And I thought that wouldn't be possible after last year, after the success of the festivals last year. I honestly thought that maybe we'd hit our benchmark. And in this time when I can't imagine saying the words that we're not having them, because I never would ever think we wouldn't, I'm actually kind of more proud of the community now than I've ever been, and more impressed.
And it's a good time to remind for the community to remember this is the community's festival. This
That's right.
festival does not happen
It's
without
not
the
owned,
community.
but I just want to be, everything is like, I'm not, if we raise more money, I don't make more money. Like this is, we are a nonprofit, and we are a staff, a very, very, very small staff of extremely dedicated people who have given up, other opportunities to go do things, but nothing compares to what it means to be part of this community. There's a value, literally a true value of that allows people to work their ass off. And that's from the volunteers, from the people that are on the sides, like the Pickens or Bike Newport or the Newport Blues Cafe or, the CVB or the Fort Adams Trust or the DEM, or, I could sit here and I should at one point thank everybody, but every one of us has something to do to make this festival a success, these festivals successes. Every single person that I mentioned has a role to play. And I'm just so truly honored to be the one who gets to kind of stand up and maybe obviously get way too much credit than I deserve. But I love giving a voice to a community that should be really proud of what it's doing in these really difficult times, because I don't know, the other way is to hunker in the bunker and just hide until someone says it's safe to come out. And I just don't think that's what this community is about. So.
And Kathy is going to get our last question, and I think it's a good way to end.
Uh-oh.
What's the best way to make a donation?
You say it. I'm sick of saying it. You say it.
You've got to say it a lot more here. So I'll put it right up here on the bottom. The best way, newportfestivals.org. You can support Newport Festivals Foundation, which supports Newport Folk Festival as well as Newport Jazz Festival, and more importantly, all the community work that they are doing out there.
Kathy, I love your little photo there. It's cute. I like it.
You like that, huh?
Yeah. So again, if anybody wants to listen to me talk about music or talk about life, and in the post-festival cancellation tomorrow, I'm hoping that I will still be able to keep my eyes open, but I'll be talking about music and talking about everything on both Instagram and Twitter kind of simultaneously. Starting, I don't know, 5:36, whenever I feel like I can't go anymore and I need to blow off some steam. So if you guys love music and you want to talk music and you want to focus on music, I'm not going to be talking about too many things other than just music, because we can't forget that the one thing that this thing is all about besides community is actually to celebrate music. So tomorrow's about celebration of music and how much we all love it and what it means to us. So find me, join me.
You've been so gracious with your time, and I appreciate it, Jay. And we look forward to the 21 Folk Festival as well as Jazz Festival. And again, it's newportfestivals.org to support, both the festivals as well as all the work they're going to do from now until the next festivals.
That's right. That's the work that I don't want to stop doing. I can't stop doing that. We need it. We need it. Anybody who has a kid who's taking virtual classes right now, I'm sure that when they're been canceling music period, because I have two kids who can't do their music periods, being able to provide those people with some stuff to help bring in some musicians to actually sit there and help do do some virtual learning. I'm just using that as an example of things that we want to be doing, but we can't do without your help. So if you don't want to hear your kids sitting there, playing video games for hours, let us help you. Let us help you.
And it's my favorite thing that I cover that you guys do. Going to a school and seeing kids get instruments or check gives me goosebumps now. And
It just freaks me out. It literally makes me. I've become a little jaded at times about the ability. I'm just gonna be honest. I still am total in awe that I get to have conversations with Herbie Hancock or Wynton Marsalis or Nora Jones or all these people that I consider people that I can reach out to in times of need and when I'm happy or whatever, but nothing compares to the immediate joy and bliss I get when I see somebody who is always wanted an instrument holding one. It is, try it. If you need a smile, try it.
Excellent. And that is where we're going to end. Jay Sweet, thank you very much, my friends. And we will talk to you soon. NewportFestivals.org. Jay Sweet, thank you very much. And that's going to do it for us here today. Check out NewportFestivals.org, make a donation, as well as whatsupnewp.com for the latest on COVID-19, as well as updates on festivals and events happening in Newport and more.